In the depths of the cosmos, Zira Alisa, an elite assassin, faces a fateful mission that challenges her allegiance. Tasked with eliminating a scientist, she soon realizes her target holds the key to the galaxy's future. As conflict brews, Zira must confront whether love can overcome her duty. In a universe of choices, what price will she pay for her soul? Don't forget to subscribe. 91% of viewers enjoy our content but forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with our daily sci-fi stories and support a dedicated team of storytellers and content creators who rely on this as their livelihood. In the shadowy corners of the Terris Empire, where smoke billowed like restless spirits and the ground trembled beneath the weight of ambition, Zira Alisa prepared herself for what would be the most critical mission of her life. Clad in sleek black armor that absorbed the faint glow of Serteth IX's molten rivers, she moved with a fearsome grace, every muscle taut with focus. Zira was a premier assassin, renowned for her lethal efficiency and cold resolve. A raven-haired warrior with piercing green eyes, she had long learned to place duty above all, masking the pain of her past with the unyielding discipline of her present. Yet this day felt different, the air humming with an unsettling undercurrent that pricked at her instincts. "Zira, we've confirmed the target's location," a voice crackled through her communicator, slicing through her reverie. It was Varric, her enigmatic handler. His tone was clipped, reflecting the gravity of the situation. "Kakal Renan is hosting a demonstration on subspace folding tomorrow. Your mission is to eliminate him before he can share his research. The Empire cannot afford a failure." A knot tightened in her stomach at the mention of Kale Renan. The scientist was more than a target. He was a beacon of hope, or so the whispers of the underground had suggested. The rumors painted him as a misguided savant, tinkering with the laws of reality. Zira clenched her jaw, a flicker of something unrecognizable igniting within her. "For the Empire," she whispered, the words feeling both like a mantra and a weight as she steered her craft towards the approaching storm of plasma and ash that engulfed Serth IX. As she wound through the otherworldly terrain, Zira's thoughts wandered. What could a mere scientist hold that posed such a threat? The past few weeks had been fraught with conflict. Political maneuvering and shadow skirmishes had sharpened her blade. Her mind drifted to the tales told by the veterans at the Chulra Tavern back on Dantir 4. Stories of ancient prophecies and children born of stars, destined to change the course of history. Were these simply old wives' tales, or did they have a kernel of truth? Her ship, sleek and formidable, sliced through the clouds, the glow of the planet's heart casting eerie shadows on its hull. Zira adjusted her vision enhancers, searching for signs of her target. As she neared the specified coordinates, she noticed the perimeter guards clad in futuristic battle gear encircled a dome where the demonstration would take place. A heavy presence loomed, each soldier echoing the Empire's iron grip. But it was not just the guards Zira noticed. There was something deeper at play. The very atmosphere crackled with energy, and she felt the hair on her arms stand on end as though some primal instinct warned her to turn back. The heart of Serth IX pulsed beneath them, a throbbing entity alive and watching. "Stay sharp," Varric's voice punctured her thoughts. "Remember, we don't know the extent of Renan's protection. This isn't just about the mission, it's about survival." "Yes, Varric." Zira's resolve hardened. She had eliminated targets before, and this was simply another day on the job, until the realization struck her that she knew so little about the consequences of what lay ahead. The chaos erupted without warning. The vibrant, treacherous landscape of Serth IX, with its molten rivers carving through jagged valleys and towering obsidian cliffs, had always felt alive, a pulsating entity that mirrored the turbulence of its inhabitants. Zira's ship, sleek and black, slipped into a lightning storm of plasma and ash, the electric air crackling against its armor as she braced for the impact. The sleek vessel bucked violently, alarms screaming as enemy fire struck with pinpoint accuracy. Her heart raced, each thud echoing the urgency of her mission. Just as she regained her bearings, steering through the chaos, a loss of control sent her spiraling downwards, a painful descent toward the war-torn plains below. As the ship plummeted, time slowed, vivid images flashing before her eyes. Memories of cold metal, desolate spaces, and whispered orders played like a film reel, reminding her of the impending task. Zira steeled herself for the moment of impact, knowing that she was not only fighting against gravity, but against destiny itself. The crash resonated like a thunderclap across the ravaged terrain. Flames surged and hissed, smoke billowing as she emerged from the wreckage. She stumbled out of the twisted metal cocoon, disoriented, her adrenaline at fever pitch. Before her stood a group of armed men, each face hardened with the brutality of survival. They were the very assailants Kalanil had been fighting, their eyes sharp with suspicion. Just as she thought to escape, a figure burst through the fray, his chaotic mane of hair dancing in the haze of smoke and embers. Kashliel Renan, a striking man with piercing blue eyes that seemed to see straight through the armor she had donned, both physical and emotional. "Get off me!" Zira gasped, trying to push him aside as debris pinned her to the ground, her instincts screaming danger. Karil's expression was a mixture of resolve and bafflement. "You're not here to kill me, are you?" His eyes searched hers, a flicker of hope mingling with uncertainty. Her instincts warred with her burgeoning curiosity. "You're not the monster I was led to believe. Who are you?" She could feel the myths and lies that had been fed to her unraveling, each thread drawn taut by the unexpected turn of events. "Merely a scientist trying to save lives," he replied, extending a hand to help her rise from the debris. "We need to work together, or we'll both die here." His grip was firm, grounding her in reality, yet she felt a flurry of emotions crashing within her: fear, vulnerability, and an awakening she had not anticipated. Zira took a breath, shaking off the remnants of her preordained mission. "I should be killing you," she said, her voice a mixture of defiance and intrigue. "Then let's make it a partnership, one where we both survive." The sincerity in his tone cut through her reservations like a blade, and she felt the barriers she had constructed around her heart beginning to crack. As they navigated the impending attack, Zira became acutely aware of the landscape around them. A hellish expanse of scorched earth, dotted with remnants of ancient technology. The atmosphere crackled with energy, weaving through the air like a living organism. Each ripple of sound echoed across the canyon, remnants of a battle scarred by years of conflict. "Stay close!" Kamatil shouted, breaking her reverie. The group of attackers rushed forward, weapons raised, as Zira and Kariel sprinted through the treacherous terrain, maneuvering past crumbling structures. Their surroundings were cloaked in shadow, but the constant explosions illuminated fleeting glimpses of their refuge, ancient stone pillars half buried in sand, whispering the tales of a forgotten civilization. As they ducked behind the remnants of a battle-torn vehicle, panting for breath, Zira glimpsed into Kariel's determined eyes. "What are they after?" she asked, trying to catch her breath amidst the storm of adrenaline. "My research," he replied, voice steady as his brow furrowed in concentration. "Subspace folding. It allows for instantaneous travel across vast distances." Zira's heart thrummed with intrigue as she pieced together the implications. Why would the Empire want that knowledge? The tendrils of doubt began to weave through her mind. "You have to understand," Kadiel sighed, glancing back at the encroaching figures. "They see it as a means to tighten their control, to dominate rather than liberate. That's why they sent you." Her instincts screamed at her to reject his theory, to remain loyal to the Empire, yet shadows fell over her conscience. Here, in the heartbeat of danger, she sensed a growing bond with Kavel, one that stirred an unexpected yearning for something more than duty. "Zira!" His sharp voice snapped her back to attention. "We must keep moving, or we'll be caught." With every step they took, Zira felt the weight of her mission grow heavier, a tension that threatened to tear her apart. The sounds of distant gunfire and shouts morphed into a chaotic symphony, each beat pushing them closer toward what felt like an uncertain destiny together. As night fell, they found shelter within the cavern of ancient rocks, the air thick with the scent of scorched earth and energy. The flicker of their meager fire cast shadows against the walls, revealing etchings that told the stories of those who had come before them, a history of sacrifices and struggles. Zira's heart echoed the agony contained in those inscriptions, compelling but familiar. "Tell me about your research," she urged, curiosity overtaking her restraint. "Why does the Empire want you dead? Why?" Cassaliel's expression shifted. "Because the key to subspace folding lies not just in technology, but in unlocking an ancient power, a power connected to the ancestral memories of this world." He leaned closer, his voice low and urgent. "I have to discover who can harness it, or we could all perish." The weight of his words fell upon Zira like a cosmic tide. The gravity of the situation swallowed her thoughts, forcing her to question every belief she held. "Can you trust me?" she finally asked, heart racing at the revelation of her vulnerability. "Can you trust yourself?" he countered, an enigmatic smile tracing his lips. And in that moment, something within her shifted. Time passed in a tapestry of uncertainty, their connection deepening with each shared story, each confession beneath the veil of starlit chaos. As dawn crept over the horizon, its light igniting the sky in hues of fiery orange and crimson, Zira found herself drawn to Kale, more than she had ever anticipated. But just as hope began to bloom between them, darkness loomed larger. The remnants of battle still echoed in the air around Zira and Kale, as they cautiously traversed the shattered landscape of Surth 9. Each step was calculated, every shadow a potential threat as they navigated through the wreckage of an existence once vibrant. War had turned this land into a desolation of fiery pits and razor-edged cliffs, yet amidst the chaos, a tentative bond began to take root. The nights on Surth 9 were imbued with a haunting beauty, illuminated by the eerie glow of molten rivers snaking through the cracked earth. It was during one of these quiet evenings, with a sky reminiscent of spilled blood, that Zira found herself caught in a dream. It came unbidden, striking her with a vivid clarity that felt like a vision torn from the fabric of fate itself. She stood in a field of luminescent flowers, colors unknown to her brilliant purples and greens, that shimmered under a twilight that defied the familiar rules of nature. At the center of the blooming abyss, there was a child. The child was ethereal, an amalgam of features that spoke of both her and Cariel, with eyes that sparkled with an innocent light. The child reached out to her, and Zira felt a warmth envelop her, and then it dissolved. "Are you all right?" Cariel's gentle voice pulled her back to reality. He knelt beside her, his expression laced with concern. Zira blinked against the remnants of her dream, the profound connection flickering out of reach. "You were trembling," he noted softly, his blue eyes searching for understanding. "I saw something," she murmured, the recollection of the dream stirring a whirlpool of emotions inside her. "I think I was meant to protect something, someone." Cassaliel's gaze shifted momentarily, as if recalling a long-buried memory. "Zira, my research." He hesitated, weighing the gravity of his words against the uncertainty that loomed over them. "It's tied to a prophecy about a child who could shift the balance of power in the galaxy." Quote. Her heart raced, the implications threading together the unraveling narrative of her life. A child, a legacy, a purpose. "Do you believe we can change the fate of the galaxy?" He fixed her with an earnest look, a mixture of hope and anxiety etched into the lines of his face. "Together we can. But the Empire will want your blood unless we prove otherwise." Zira felt the weight of his words ripple through her. The Empire, a colossal machine fueled by fear and ambition, would not tolerate any disruption to their dominance. With her skills as an assassin, she had been a tool of the Empire, yet now she was thrust into a narrative that rippled with deeper consequences. She had to choose, not just for herself but for the child she had seen in her dream. As they sat together, the acrid air filled with the acrid scent of charcoal and burning metal, Zira allowed herself to envision a different path, one where she was more than just an instrument of destruction. She could be a guardian, but the strife surrounding them was relentless. The cobalt horizon was ominously dotted with the silhouettes of enemy shuttles, their engines throbbing with malice. A shiver of apprehension passed through her, and she instinctively turned towards Cariel, who had noticed the same foreboding signs. "Let's move," he said, pulling her back to the present. They had no choice but to push forward, scouting their surroundings, aware that danger lurked within every shadow. With every step, a tactical calm descended upon Zira. Memories of her training flooded back, mechanisms of survival carved into her neural pathways like a second skin. She could feel the sharpened edges of her instincts firing, her predatory prowess never far from the surface. But this time, she was not hunting. This time she was fighting not just for her own survival, but for the future that flickered beyond the horizon of uncertainty. As dawn broke, illuminating the jagged peaks around them, Zira sensed a shift within her. The urgency of their plight surged through her veins, mingling with the mystical warmth that had ignited within her since the vision. There was an undeniable connection between her child and the gravitational pull of destiny. It was an echo of something larger than her, a ripple of fate that would eventually trace itself into a constellation of unimaginable stories. Suddenly, an explosion reverberated through the area, the earth beneath them trembling violently. The ground cracked, splitting apart with a fiery rumble, and Zira and Caziel stumbled, narrowly avoiding the cascade of cascading debris. "Get down!" Zira hissed, her instincts kicking in as she pulled Caziel behind a protruding rock formation, the edges sharp against their skin. Outside their makeshift sanctuary, chaos erupted. The enemy forces swarmed, a horde of figures clad in dark armor glinting ominously against the molten backdrop. Their faces were obscured by masks, robotic visors scanning the terrain with cold efficiency. "They're looking for us," Callow whispered, almost as if he were afraid that speaking aloud would attract their attention. Zira nodded, every fiber in her being tensed as she peered into the melee outside. A cadre of elite soldiers shattered the quiet with calculated strikes, their blaster rifles gleaming like deadly serpents. She spotted familiar insignia on their armors, the emblem of the Empire. "Thorin will come for you," Kablal breathed, urgency creeping into his timbre. "I betrayed him, and he'll stop at nothing to take control of your child." "If he finds us, I won't let him hurt us," Zira snapped, her resolve hardening against the encroaching threat. They needed to escape, to find a sanctuary where they could regroup and devise a plan. "Zira, you must trust in our bond," Caspariel urged, his eyes reflecting the desperation of their plight. Yet his gaze held a glimmer of hope, a shared determination that pushed against the tide of oncoming doom. As they prepared to break cover, Zira felt the pulse of energy within her, raw and potent. The child inside her seemed to resonate with the chaos around them, fueling her with an empowering light that overflowed from her heart. She could feel a connection, a bond born from the dream she'd witnessed. Her child was not just alive within her, the child held the essence of the universe untangled, perhaps even a chance at salvation. "Are you ready?" Camley asked, his voice steady despite the torrent of impending violence. Zira's heart pounded in response, an unyielding resoluteness taking form. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, gripping Caliel's hand. A silent understanding passing between them. Together they would confront the Fury, armed with fierce loyalty and a burgeoning sense of purpose. The weight of impending doom hung thick in the air, a tangible force, as Zira and Caliel huddled within the cavern that echoed with the whispers of age-old secrets. The dim light flickered against the jagged walls, shadows dancing mockingly, revealing the raw tension that had built up between them. Zira felt an almost electric charge pulsing within her. A deep, primal instinct she couldn't ignore. Not just a warrior training for battle, but a protector instinctively drawn to the life she was nurturing. "Thorin will come for you," Callow stated, his tone a mixture of fury and despair, his normally calm demeanor fraying under the weight of their dire situation. "I betrayed him. I stole his research on subspace folding to ensure he wouldn't weaponize it against innocents. Now, he'll stop at nothing to take control of your child." "Whoo!" Zira's heart raced, swells of adrenaline and dread mingling as she assessed their surroundings. The cavern was their temporary refuge, but it was not impenetrable. In the soft glimmer of its depths, the hues of rock seemed to pulse with an otherworldly rhythm, as if resonating with the heartbeat of the universe. A universe threatened by the tyrannical reach of the Imperium. "If he finds us, I won't let him hurt us," Zira snapped, her voice a fierce whisper filled with determination. Her instincts screamed at her to take action, to plan an offensive, but she was caught in the snare of her emotions and concerns. A mother, a protector, and yet an assassin too. "Zira, we have to remain calm," Cariel urged through clenched teeth. He was visibly shaken, his fingers glistening with sweat, reflecting the flickering light. "Panicking won't save us. Our bond is our strength. We need to trust it, and each other." Zira inhaled sharply, feeling the gravity of his words settle like lead in her stomach. Could she truly trust this man, with everything at risk? For so long, she had been a lone wolf, her heart shrouded in steel through years of solitary missions. Yet, in this moment, the glimmer of a bond rooted deep in the chaos around them started to take shape. A bond unyielded by the fires of betrayal or conflict, but rather forged in desperation and shared truths. Suddenly, a thunderous eruption of sound shattered the fragile silence above them. The ground shook violently, a chorus of chaos crashing against stone. The sound of blaster fire and echoing shouts resonated through the cavern mouth. The Imperium had arrived. Without a thought for her own safety, Zira thrust herself forward, searching for a vantage point from which to assess the situation. All around her, the caverns pulsed and trembled, sharing their energy with her heightening senses. A strategic thought dawned amidst the chaos. She could use the environment to her advantage, to protect not just herself and Cariel, but the new life nestled inside her. "We need to get out of here, now!" She turned toward Kael, who was preparing himself, instinctively adopting an agile stance. The desperation in his eyes spoke to her. He hadn't merely been a scientist seeking knowledge. He had become an ally she never knew she desired. Zira motioned for him to follow, and they darted deeper into the cavern's shadowy recesses. Every instinct told her to keep moving, to escape, but a strange distance opened up between her and the pulsating energy within her. The cavern seemed to be a being of its own, urging her to tap into its power. "Zira!" Camilla's voice reached her through the tumult, drawing her back. "We can't run blindly. If Thorin is leading the charge, he'll have the force of the Empire behind him. We need to set a trap." Imbued with urgency, Zira halted, pondering the enormity of their situation. Utilizing the thick rock formations, she began to strategize. "If we block the main exit, we can funnel them into this narrower opening." She pointed toward where the cavern narrowed. "Where we can take them on one by one. We must outsmart them." Adding to their plans, Zira tore strips from her cloak, quickly crafting makeshift grenades with the various supplies they had accumulated during their journey. Energy capsules, and fragments of volatile minerals she had scavenged from previous missions. Capriel watched her, awe mingling with concern as her instincts kicked in, seemingly shedding the old life of an assassin to embrace a new one as a protector. As they secured the entrance, the sounds of chaos outside grew louder, the heavy stomping of armored boots echoing like ominous thunderclaps. The tension was palpable. Zira could feel the energy of the cavern connecting with her, a strange symbiotic bond. "They're here!" Cavriel hissed, and she turned sharply to see the silhouettes of armed soldiers flood into the mouth of the cavern, their green visors glowing ominously in the dim light. The soldiers, clad in luxuriously heavy armor that gleamed like dark stars, moved with mechanical precision, a stark reminder of the Empire's grasp on technology. Zira's heart raced, fear washed over her, but alongside it surged a tide of purpose. "Now!" she whispered, clenching her fists, channeling the charge within her, tapping into the power of this place, the very essence of life flowing through the crevices of the cosmos. The first soldier stepped through the threshold, immediately falling prey to the explosive trap they had set. The concussive blast sent debris scattering, and the force pushed Zira and Cabriel against the cavern's walls. "Keep moving!" Zira screamed, adrenaline pushing her into action even as chaos erupted around them. She fought with a clarity she had never experienced, each movement an extension of her will. The narrow space turned bloody, blasted fire refracting off the rocky walls, illuminating the gruesome struggle. She ducked, twisted, and retaliated, feeling the raw power coursing through her veins. With each enemy that fell, Zira's awareness grew sharper, as though the cavern were amplifying her senses, connecting her to its ancient secrets. "Zira, watch out!" Kabil shouted, as one of the soldiers lunged at her. But she was quicker. A swift kick sent him crashing into the wall, and before he could regain his balance, she used the momentum of her movement to sweep him off his feet. But amid the cacophony of their battle, Zira felt an overwhelming torrent of energy surge within her. The connection deepened, resonating with echoes of an ancient prophecy, and visions of a child flickered in her mind. It stirred something primal in her, a knowing that whatever came next was beyond her, something preordained. "Zira!" Cariel's voice cut into her reverie, grounding her back into combat. The battle stretched endlessly, like a supernova swallowing time itself, as the skies of Surth-9 ignited with cosmic fury. Zira integrated seamlessly with the chaos of the battlefield. Her heart thudded in time with the blaring alarms, and the rhythmic thumping echoed the war drums of an unrelenting force. With every pulse of energy from the still searing nebula, she felt the connective thread of fate pulling her closer to Cariel. "What do we do now?" she shouted above the deafening sounds of explosions and feedback. Cariel, nearby, wielded an improvised energy weapon debris from a shattered ship, engineering lethality from desperation. The determination in his blue eyes glimmered, despite the dust that painted his face like war paint. "We stay together. We fight. We defend what's ours." Just then, a powerful streak of energy illuminated the battlefield. It was as if the stars themselves had reached down to intervene. From the core of the nebula emerged a figure, a magnificent entity pulsating with a primordial glow, both terrifying and awe-inspiring. "Guardians of time, guardians of fate," it intoned, the cadence echoing through the chaos. Zira felt an ancestral wisdom reverberate within her. This was the guardian of the nebula, an arbiter steeped in the legacy of civilizations long past. "You must harness the child's power," the guardian said. Each word crackled in the air like static, a warning laden with promise. "Only with unity can you forge a new destiny for the galaxy." Zira exchanged a charged glance with Kael, feeling the vibrations of their shared connection intensify. The Guardian's presence illuminated the glimmer of hope and possibility within their hearts. This was not merely a fight for survival, it was a calling, a beckoning to rise above the darkness that threatened to consume them. "We can't let them take our future," Zira breathed, determination capturing her resolve. The pair stepped forward, something powerful brewing between them, ignited by love and desperation. They could sense the energy swirling around them like an electric storm, each pulse a manifestation of whatever potential lay dormant within the unborn child. "Together, we've got this," Kael declared, his voice straddling the lines of fear and determination. "Let's show them what we're made of." In that moment, a surge of warmth enveloped them, filling Zira with visions, fragmented images shimmering like a kaleidoscope. Her and Kael raising their child beneath the auroras of untainted planets, a galaxy alive with possibilities, freedom pulsing like a heartbeat. "Focus," she commanded, the energy of the nebula intertwining with their essences. And together they unleashed a wave of brilliance, an incandescent shield emanating from the depths of their souls. Light erupted like a solar flare. The forces pressing upon them stalled momentarily, struck by the overwhelming energy. The enemy, cloaked in armaments and malice, faltered as the barrier danced around Zira and Kael. The ethereal brightness enveloped them, reflecting hope in the eyes of those who fought alongside them. "I feel it," Cariel yelled, eyes blazing with sensory enlightenment as the strike repelled opposing forces. They channeled the protective energy, colorful tendrils stretching outward like a web, reaching toward those who dared assault their sanctuary. Through this luminous cocoon, Zira glimpsed the presence of Thorin, the shadowy architect of their woes, his malevolent scowl as palpable as the piercing light. He had come to collect the spoils, to take what he believed was his. But as the Guardian's grip deepened, Zira felt her pulse synchronize with the child within her, a protective instinct surging, extending beyond her very being. "No, you cannot have them," Zira shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Instinctively, she knew that this was not just about survival. They were fighting for a future. Not just for this child, but for all the children who would come after. Thorin sneered, raising his arm to signal the remaining forces for an onslaught. "You think you can shield what is destined to be mine? The power within you is wasted on a naive vision of love. Your darkness cannot overshadow the light we carry." Cadil bellowed defiantly, his voice a clarion call resonating through the void. The Guardian's voice thundered, a chorus of celestial harmonies weaving through the fabric of reality. "In unity, you hold the key to the universe's balance. Weave your destinies, for yours is a love that can rewrite the stars." Hwah! With every ounce of energy they could summon, Zira and Kaliel focused their collective will. The radiant light blossomed outward, encircling Thorin, stopping him dead in his tracks. Just as he turned to escape, the brilliance cloaked him in an iridescent veil. The forces of the Empire fighting for his malignance screamed as they were pushed back, the very essence of the galaxy reasserting its boundaries. As the brilliance engulfed him, Zira saw his malevolence wilting against the radiance like shadows obliterated by the dawn. The once overpowering adversary now shrank into insignificance, swallowed by light. And then, as if an invisible tether had snapped, the adversaries dissolved into the ether, leaving behind nothing but whispers of fear and regret. As the air settled, the exhilarating tension ebbed away, simmering into quietude. Zira looked to Kariel, the aura of victory suffusing them. The Guardian's presence lingered, watching over them, cloaked in the nurturing light of ancient stars. "That was incredible," Kariel exhaled, his voice thick with disbelief, his heart racing. "Did we really just do that?" "We did," Zira smiled, her eyes shimmering with the remnants of energy still crackling around her fingertips. "We stood against the darkness, together. You are not merely a scientist now, you are a guardian of our future." A moment of tranquility settled around them. With the storm of battle subsiding, the whispers of the nebula became a song, an exultant melody reverberating in their souls. But as the dust of yesterday's battle cleared, Zira felt the weight of the cosmos upon her. They had won, but the void beyond contained secrets yet untold, challenges lurking in the shadows. The specter of their journey loomed larger than life, teeming with questions that echoed in the silence. "What will we do now?" she murmured, looking deep into Kariel's blue eyes. Kariel took a moment to savor the stillness surrounding them before responding. "We find a way to protect our child. We unite with others who believe as we do. Together we will fight for a galaxy free from tyranny, free to flourish." Zira nodded, the resolve igniting her spirit once more. They had emerged from the turmoil, forged anew in fire, imbued with the spirit of the Guardian, armed with the promise of love. The journey ahead would not be easy, but it was theirs to shape. As they held each other in that crimson glow, in the arms of the nebula that sheltered their destinies, they began to step forward, grounded in their newfound purpose, ready to face not just the challenges ahead, but also the beckoning possibilities of tomorrow. In the depths of the universe, where chaos and order constantly battled, Zira had learned an invaluable truth, that love, when fused with unity, could transcend any darkness, heralding a future woven with hope. And while whispers of uncertainty lingered in the stretch of the cosmos, their steadfast hearts surged with the promise of what was yet to come. For the shadows may rise, but with guardianship, trust, and an unwavering bond, they would carve their own destiny upon the canvas of the stars. If you like this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.